Remember Zero Two? It's 2018, two well-known anime studios are teaming up to create the next Gurren Lagann, and definitely not the next Evangelion. Hype is everywhere, anticipation at an all-time high. The first episode drops, and it blows everyone away. Zero Two becomes everyone's favorite waifu, even Kim Kardashian's. A new great waifu war is cooking on medium to high heat, but unfortunately, we all know the blue chick is going to lose. Everyone in Darling in the Franxx is a main character. The anime has been dubbed in pretty much every language there is. It's a huge success. And it was all thanks to her. This one character and the whips who bought her figurine hoping she'd call them darling. But at some point something went wrong and the anime went down faster than did his career. Maybe it had something to do with this, maybe not. After the dust has more than settled, how does Darling in the Franxx hold up? Was its downfall deserved? Is it worth watching after so many years? Darling in the Franxx story is set in a post-apocalyptic world where people have abandoned the surface due to the threat of these geometric creatures, and also have built their entire civilization underground like in any other post-apocalyptic scenario. Despite the technological evolution of this society, our main group of characters are the only people living in a building similar to one humanity left behind, aka a regular house these days. They seem to be kept close-minded, born and raised for one purpose only, to pilot the mechs and kill these creatures. So right off the bat, Darling in the Franxx sets up an overarching mystery and sorts of bombards the viewers with questions to keep them interested in what's to come. Already a very good start. Why are the kids indoctrinated? What are the adults hiding? Why is it so obvious that this Futoshi guy isn't going to get any pussy? We meet the main character, Hiro, who's initially very boring and one of the most run-of-the-mill protagonists I've ever seen, which gets a bit jarring when every other member of the squad is incredibly annoying. Except this guy is fine, and the best girl. But man, the first impression of these characters is exactly the one you don't want to make when you meet your lover's parents. The anime does give each character quite an ample story arc, and they do become a lot more likable, especially Goro and Zero Two, who were already very likable, but also Hiro, who turns out to be quite a character. Now, if you, for some reason, dislike Zero Two, which I don't see why you would, but if you do, then there's a very high chance you'll dislike the beginning of the show, which also means you'll dislike the entire show. Zero Two is a catalyst for the story. She puts things in action, she moves the plot forward and backwards and sideways. She's that mysterious character that you have so many questions about, like that transferred student from so many anime. But she's also the one who carries the anime in its early stages, letting the other characters develop and prepare to join her on the stage, or take it away from her. But do they manage that? No, and no they do not. The anime manages their development surprisingly well. They go from these annoying little rats to these charismatic and believable individuals, which is great. It's nice that every character receives some attention, but none of them is good enough to sit on the same stage as Zero Two, which doesn't help when she takes a backseat in the second half of the anime. That's where most of the problems start. For the most part, the anime put a lot of focus on the character dynamic side, and them learning about relationships, love, kissing, which I view as going through puberty, since they are teenagers after all. The plot is interesting and holds most of the questions, but it quickly becomes a character-driven story. So these characters' ambitions, goals, desires, their journeys are much more pivotal than anything else. When they break out of this restricted world they've been raised in order to find the truth behind their existence and as to why humanity became the way it is, the story slowly becomes a dark yet hopeful tale of self-discovery. It's something that every member of the main squad is eventually dealing with, finding out what they are, who they are, and what do they want to do, accepting themselves and working on their future. Some of them succeed in this task, some don't, but they all tackle it in their own way, and the anime doesn't hesitate to show that. Even the beach episode, which everyone knows is a blueprint for fanservice, focuses on developing and strengthening the bond between these characters. I mean, there's still some of that and a lot of this. The anime definitely made an impact on the community at that time because of the way they pilot the robots, but at least it managed to get some growth out of the characters even in those moments. What the anime didn't manage to do though is keep the action of the story fresh and interesting throughout. There is this cycle where Our characters are in this room listening to orders and analyzing a situation, then they go out in the field and fight the army of geometric shapes. They use those action scenes as a way to show progression in the development of one or more characters. Usually the main squad is in a pinch and the character or characters that are the focus of that particular episode will save the day, like a culmination of their growth and development. The whole scenario plays many times with subtle changes every now and then, but not enough to make a real difference. In the case of Hero and 02, this scenario is seriously overused. Information about the robots they pilot, the Franxx, is also very scarce throughout the anime. We get all of our questions answered as a pack delivered very late in the show. It sort of robs us of answering these questions ourselves, before we get them from the official source. Discovering little bits of information and hints to slowly put them together and reach an answer ourselves, which ties into one of the main plot twists, let's call it that of the Franxx being Klaxosaurs, deep geometric fucking shapes. The twist in itself is quite good, even shocking if you've not seen a particular series before, but chances are you have seen Eva, or at least heard about it against your will. Darling draws a lot of parallels to Eva, both visually and thematically, which I view as a tribute to Eva since a bunch of the people who worked on that also worked on Darling. But when you borrow one of your main plot twists from a well-known anime that your viewers have also seen, it really diminishes it, you know? Although if you haven't seen Eva, then the twist will only enhance your experience. So it's a good thing and a bad thing depending on your situation. Now, while the action part is a bit lacking and very repetitive at times, the anime more than makes up for it with the abundance of emotional and personal moments for these characters, which is a bit funny since the show definitely looks more action-packed than drama. But it has these moments where it hits you with an unexpected heartwarming episode, and I gotta be honest, they are very well done. It draws me in, puts me in the right mood, and it actually makes me interested in these characters. I do actually want to see where they end up at the end of the series. But then, aliens, Studio Trigger's specialty. That's the cause for most of Darling in the Franxx criticism. In the last 3 episodes we got a fully fledged alien invasion. 02 becomes a giant spaceship with boobs, some characters dying, some getting married. It's a mess, man. A fucking mess. So many things happening at once, seemingly out of nowhere. Now, with Studio Trigger being Studio Trigger, I can't say that I'm shocked at this turn of events. They always pull a 180 towards the end of their series, but this time it didn't work. The show draws attention towards the lines between humanity and inhumanity becoming blurred. The relationship between Hero and 02, the immortality of the adults. The show is consistent on focusing on this as a running theme. It brings up the question of, what do we consider to be a human? As the characters are getting closer to answering this question, we find out that the higher order, the APE, are indoctrinating the humanity. There's a good conflict here, very interesting one, worthy of being the climax. But then aliens show up and it negates the point of this conflict because it turns out the evil aliens did everything. The higher order didn't matter because they were controlled by aliens, the real final villain. So the focus of the show switches entirely on the new real bad guys, setting aside everything that happened so far. This whole obsession of Studio Trigger to absolutely go to space and have 02 transform was absolutely unnecessary. Velm could have been a very good final antagonist by having their motive revealed in another way than then going back to fucking space. So space is the real villain of the story. However, what I find interesting about this twist is that it could have worked so well if they made it into a second season. Aliens being the actual villains is not a bad idea. 02 turning into a giant spaceship could be explained. Perhaps, if you take all the events from the last 3 episodes and try to spread them over the course of a sequel, it kinda works out. The remaining people going onto the surface and repopulating was great, just the climax wasn't. The ending itself is, I wanna say really solid, but I don't know about that. It's good. The ending itself, it's alright. The way the story of Hero in 02 ended was fitting. I don't know whose idea was it or what went through their heads, but space wasn't the right answer. Moral of the story, don't go to space, kids.